When God is about to shift everything, you'll feel this first. There comes a moment in every chosen one's life when the world as you know it begins to unravel, not as punishment, but as preparation. You can't quite put your finger on it, but something within you begins to feel different. It's as if the ground beneath your feet is subtly shifting, and although nothing has changed on the outside, everything inside of you is being stirred. You wake up one morning with a weight on your chest that you can't explain. Your routine suddenly feels foreign. What once satisfied you now leaves you empty. You're not going crazy, you're being awakened. When God is about to shift everything, the first move he makes is not in your job, your finances, your relationships, or your environment. The first shift is spiritual. He stirs your consciousness. He causes the familiar to feel strange and the known to feel uncomfortable. Why? Because he's calling you out of what's safe and into what's sacred. He is setting the stage for transformation that the world won't see coming, but your spirit will feel first, and it won't be loud, it won't be dramatic. It will begin as a whisper, an inner knowing, strange peace in the midst of chaos, a soft push to let go of what no longer fits. You'll start to see glimpses in your imagination, snapshots of another life, a deeper purpose, a freer version of you, and while others might not understand your detachment, your silence, your hunger for more, you will know. This is how heaven announces its intention, not with thunder, but with the quiet collapse of everything that cannot survive the next season of your calling. This is the signal, this is the sign, and when it comes, don't run, don't resist, don't try to hold the old together, let it fall. Let it shake, let it crumble, because God is about to shift everything and you are not losing control, you are surrendering to divine design. The divine discomfort, when God makes you uncomfortable before the breakthrough, there is a sacred unease that enters your life just before everything changes. It's subtle at first, like a small crack in the wall of your familiar reality. You may not even notice it in the beginning, but deep down something begins to feel off. What used to bring you comfort now irritates your spirit. What once satisfied you no longer quenches your thirst. You find yourself staring into space more often, pulled into thought patterns that don't make sense logically, but feel significant spiritually. This is not confusion, it is divine preparation. This is how God begins to shift your life, not through dramatic signs in the sky, but through an invisible earthquake in your soul. The discomfort you feel is not because something is wrong with you. It's because something greater is awakening within you. You are being prepared, not punished. You are being stretched, not broken. You are being called, not cast aside. But in this stage, it often feels like loss, like disconnection, like failure. You start questioning your path, your relationships, your decisions. You wonder why things that once worked suddenly stop flowing. Why people you trusted begin to fade. Why you no longer feel at home in the life you once prayed for. The truth is, God never shifts your outer life until he first shifts your inner landscape, and that inner work rarely feels pleasant. It feels like being stripped, emptied, shaken. It feels like losing control, but in reality you are being positioned to receive a new kind of control, one that comes from surrender. Not force. God always prepares the heart before he reorders the life. Before he releases the promotion, the blessing, the relationship, the breakthrough, he makes room for it, and he begins by making you restless with what no longer serves you. This restlessness is holy. This divine discomfort is sacred. It is your soul's recognition that something bigger is calling you, and the old structures cannot hold what God is about to pour into your life. But here's the challenge. We are taught to run from discomfort. We try to numb it, ignore it, escape it. We busy ourselves with distractions. Overcommit to what we've outgrown, or worse, convince ourselves that we're being ungrateful. But listen, when God is about to shift everything, he will first make sure that the current version of your life becomes too small to carry your next dimension. You'll feel emotionally unbalanced, spiritually stretched, mentally exhausted, not because something is wrong, but because you're being pulled towards something right. The tension you feel is a sign that your spiritual skin is shedding. You are evolving into a new creation, and that means the container of your old self, your old thoughts, patterns, attachments must break. That breakage is uncomfortable, but it is necessary. It is holy ground. You may feel like you're being dismantled, but you're actually being realigned. Everything that is not grounded in truth must be shaken. Every identity that was built on survival must Be surrendered. Every relationship that no longer honors your calling must be released. This is not loss. This is pruning, and pruning always precedes blooming. God does not shift your life with noise. He does it with nudges. First he stirs your spirit, then he unsettles your comfort, then he begins to rearrange your reality in alignment with the new version of you that is emerging. If you fight the discomfort, you delay the shift, but if you lean into it, if you trust it, follow it, flow with it, you'll discover that this internal shaking is not the end of your peace, it's the beginning of your power. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. The darkness you feel is not a grave, it's a womb. You are not dying, you are being reborn, and when that shift comes, it will be undeniable. The very things that once fit you perfectly will start to suffocate you. The places you once called home will begin to feel like cages. The roles you used to play will feel like heavy costumes, and the dreams you once chased will begin to pale in comparison to the vision God now shows you in silence. That's when you'll know you are no longer who you used to be, and that feeling is the first sign. It comes before the doors open. It comes before the breakthroughs appear. It comes before people recognize the change. You feel it before they see it, and that is how God works. He shifts you in private before he elevates you in public. So if you're in the space right now where everything feels off, unclear, heavy, strain, take heart. That's the holy signal. That's the alarm from heaven. You are not in chaos. You are in divine transition. Everything uncomfortable in this moment is a spiritual contraction. Something is being birthed through you. God is reorienting you. Soul, rerouting your steps and releasing your mind from old beliefs that can no longer sustain your destiny. So don't panic when things stop making sense. Don't resist when your plans fall apart. Don't cling to the versions of yourself that feel safe but stagnant. Let it unravel. Let it be uncomfortable. Let it stir you, because this is what comes first. The discomfort is the doorway. The restlessness is the invitation. The unease is the evidence that God is near, and he is not leaving you in this place. He is preparing to shift everything, but the shift always begins in you before it happens for you, and when you embrace it instead of resisting it, you open yourself up to a divine recalibration that will not just change your life, it will transform your identity. So lean in, let the divine discomfort guide you. What feels like a breakdown is actually your break. Through in disguise, God is working right now, right here, inside of you, and the first move he always makes is spiritual. You'll feel it before you see it, and when you do, don't ignore it. That is the proof, that is the sign, that is the sound of heaven getting ready to shift everything, the vision within. When God conceives the future in your mind first, long before anything shifts in your outer world, God plants the seed of transformation deep within your imagination. It does not begin with action. It does not begin with evidence. It begins with vision, a divine glimpse, a moment of clarity so subtle yet so profound that it feels more like a memory than a dream. You see something within that you can't explain to anyone else, a future reality that contradicts your current situation, yet feels truer than what your eyes behold. And this is no coincidence. This is the spiritual principle by which all things are made. The outer must mirror the inner, not the other way around. When God is about to change your life, he begins by awakening the eyes of your spirit. He doesn't move mountains outside of you before he moves the imagination within you. He impregnates your mind with images of what is coming, not to tease you, but to prepare you. He is shaping your belief to match what heaven is ready to deliver, and belief is formed through imagination. You begin to see flashes of a life that contradicts your circumstances, living in a home you've never entered, working in a place you've never stepped foot, speaking to people you've never met, creating from a depth you never knew you had. Your hands haven't touched it, but your spirit has already embraced it. That vision is not fantasy. It is spiritual fact. It is God's preview of coming attractions, shown in the quiet theater of your soul. This is where your transformation begins, not by waiting on signs, but by receiving the seed of the new reality in your inner world. And the more you dwell in it, the more it expands. You begin to feel different, speak different, think different. You start walking through your current life with the posture of someone who has already crossed over. Others may call it delusion, but in truth it is faith. It is the boldness to believe in something you cannot yet prove. And here's the mystery. The moment you accept that inner image as real, your outer life begins to bend Toward it, opportunities start appearing, conversations begin aligning, resources are drawn to you, people are sent to you, paths open that were once hidden, not because you forced it, but because you accepted it. That is the power of imagination when infused with divine purpose. It becomes the womb through which destiny is delivered. You see, every miracle, every breakthrough, every elevation you've ever hoped for already exists in the spirit. It is not being created, it is being revealed, but it can only be revealed to the one whose imagination is willing to host it. If your mind cannot hold it, your life cannot manifest it. That's why God gives it to you there first, not to frustrate you, but to activate you. He knows that until you've seen it inside, you will reject it when it shows up outside. So he lovingly repeats the vision, sometimes through dreams, sometimes through ideas, sometimes through prophetic impressions. Each one is a whisper. This is what I have for you. Will you believe it before you see it? Most people dismiss these visions. They call them distractions or impossible dreams. But to the awakened soul, these flashes are invitations. They are God's way of asking, are you ready to walk by faith and not by sight? Because until you believe in what is unseen, you will remain trapped by what is visible. Your current reality may look fixed, but it is malleable. It bends in obedience to the blueprint of your belief, and belief begins with imagination. You must first imagine yourself whole before healing can manifest. You must imagine yourself provided for before provision flows. You must imagine yourself free before the chains fall. This is not just spiritual theory, it is divine law. God gives dominion to the inner world first, and once you govern there, the outer world bows in alignment. But imagination requires discipline. You must protect what has been planted. You must reject the voices that contradict the vision. You must stop explaining your future to those who are trapped in your past. This vision is not for them, it is for you, and the more you nurture it, the more alive it becomes. What once felt like a possibility now feels like an inevitability. You no longer wonder if it will happen, you begin to wonder when, and that shift in posture is everything. It is the evidence that the conception was successful. You are no longer trying to force outcomes. You are now flowing with divine alignment. You are pregnant with destiny, and pregnancy requires patience. You may not show immediately. There may be no visible sign, but inside something is growing, something holy, something unstoppable, and if you protect it, honor it, carry it, and believe in it even when no one else does, the day will come when what was once invisible becomes undeniable. But until that day, you must walk with quiet confidence. You must live from the inside out. You must let the vision shape you even before it shows up around you, because the true evidence of faith is not what you manifest, it's how you carry what you haven't yet manifested. It's in your ability to talk like it's done, move like it's coming, plan like it's confirmed. That's the frequency that attracts favor. That's the posture that heaven responds to, because God is not waiting for you to perform, He is waiting for you to perceive, and once you do, the shift begins. So if you're seeing visions that make no sense, dreaming of things that seem too big, feeling called to a life that doesn't match your current situation, don't panic. Don't downplay it. Don't dismiss it. That is how God speaks to those He is about to elevate. He shows them glimpses of glory before the ground ever moves. He paints pictures on the canvas of the mind to prepare the soul for what the body will soon walk into. He doesn't show you to tease you. He shows you to align you. So receive the vision. Embrace the image. Accept the new reality not with fear, but with faith. This is how the shift starts, not with a miracle outside, but with a moment of clarity within. The more you believe in it, the more you become it. And once you become it, nothing in the world can stop it from manifesting. Because what is birthed in the spirit cannot be aborted by the natural. The future is not coming, it's already here, and you've already seen it. Now carry it with reverence, protect it with courage, speak it with power, and walk as if it's already yours, because in the eyes of heaven it already is. Shedding season, when God strips away what cannot go with you, there comes a sacred moment in every spiritual journey when everything you once clung to begins to slip through your fingers, not because you're being punished, but because you're being promoted. This moment doesn't come with fanfare or celebration. It comes with silence, separation, and sometimes sorrow. People begin to fall away. Relationships that once felt secure become distant. Environments that once fit begin to feel foreign. The dreams you thought you wanted begin to feel too small. What once defined you no longer excites You and what once comforted you begins to feel like a cage. This is the shedding season, the spiritual stage where God removes what cannot go with you into your next dimension. It's not personal, it's prophetic, and though it may feel like your life is falling apart, in truth, your life is being divinely restructured. This is not the enemy attacking, this is God pruning. He is cutting away every branch, every attachment, every dependency that would choke the growth of what he's about to birth through you. He is not trying to destroy your life. He is trying to make room for the new one. But this process hurts. It hurts to let go of people you love. It hurts to release roles that gave you identity. It hurts to walk away from places where you once thrived. But pain is often the proof of spiritual progress. When God begins to elevate you, he must first isolate you. He has to detox you from the noise of what's familiar so you can hear the whisper of what's next. And that's why the separation feels so intense, because you're not just losing people, you're shedding versions of yourself that were built in survival but cannot exist in the promised land. God loves you too much to let you carry outdated attachments into a future that requires your full transformation. So he allows the friction. He permits the fallout. He even orchestrates the endings you wouldn't choose because he sees what you cannot. He knows who's genuinely connected to your calling and who's only attached to your comfort. He knows who honors your anointing and who only benefits from your brokenness, so he begins to clean house, not to harm you, but to heal you, and the first step of healing is always release. God knows that until you let go of what's draining you, you won't have the strength to hold what's destined for you, so he allows certain doors to close, not to lock you out, but to lead you into clarity, into alignment, into truth. But make no mistake, this process will test you. Because when God removes people and patterns from your life, he doesn't always replace them immediately. He leaves you in the in-between, the holy middle, the sacred void between who you were and who you're becoming. This is where faith is forged. This is where trust is deepened. This is where your identity is rebuilt not on roles, routines, or relationships, but on divine purpose alone. God stripped you down so he can dress you in destiny, but most of us resist this part. We beg for the old attachments to stay. We try to fix what God is trying to free us from. We romanticize the past because the future feels uncertain. But you cannot walk into what's next if your hands are still full of what was. At some point, you must release the familiar to embrace the fulfilled, and that's what the shedding season is about. It's not just about loss, it's about alignment. God is aligning your life with your higher self, and your higher self requires higher standards, higher connections, and higher clarity. Everything and everyone that does not resonate with that frequency begins to fall away. This isn't rejection, this is redirection. This is God's mercy in disguise. He is saving you from long-term entanglements by giving you short-term discomfort. So if people start changing, let them. If doors start closing, don't force them back open. If your spirit starts feeling off around certain environments, don't override that intuition. That's the voice of God in motion. That's the evidence that the divine shift has begun. And when the shift begins, nothing remains the same. But you must not panic. You must not mourn the old so deeply that you miss the beauty of the new. Your attachments are being tested not to break you, but to build you. God is asking, do you trust me enough to walk away from what is no longer serving your soul? Can you release the old version of you? The one who needed validation, applause, control, comfort, because the you that is coming, the you that is rising, has no use for those crutches. You're stepping into a life that demands maturity, clarity, and full surrender, and that means you must walk light. You cannot carry bitterness, ego, resentment, or shallow connections into a future that's built on purpose and peace. So yes, the shedding hurts. Yes, it can feel like abandonment. Yes, it can feel like you're walking alone, but remember, you are never truly alone. You are being accompanied by the one who is preparing a table for you in the presence of your enemies. You are being led by the hand of God through a narrow place into a wide space. You are being shaped in silence so that when your time comes, you will be strong enough to carry the blessing. Everything is intentional. Nothing is being removed without reason. The relationship that ended, it was protection. The job that disappeared, it was redirection. The doors that shut in your face, they were never your doors, and the pain you feel in this season, it's not death, it's delivery. You are giving birth to a life that cannot coexist with what you once tolerated, so let it fall, let it break, let it dissolve, let it leave. You are not being stripped of value, you are being stripped of excess. God is cutting away what's unnecessary so he can reveal what's essential, and what's essential is your anointing, your assignment, your authentic identity. The version of you that doesn't settle, doesn't shrink, doesn't compromise, the version of you that was buried under people, pleasing, trauma, fear, and false loyalty, that version is emerging now, and every attachment that cannot hold the weight of that version must be released. This is how God upgrades your life, not by adding more, but by taking away what doesn't belong. And when the dust settles, you will see clearly the pruning was preparation, the losses were lessons, the detours were divine. Everything that fell away was making room for everything you were always meant to carry. So walk through this shedding season with holy boldness. Don't fight it, don't fear it, don't question it. You are being emptied so you can be filled, and what's coming will be worth every tear, every goodbye, every closed chapter. Because when God strips you, he always restores you with more power, more peace, more purpose, and not only will you survive the shedding, you'll rise from it, stronger, lighter, freer, whole, the stirring within, when God uses your spirit to announce the shift. Before the world around you changes, something deeper begins to move your emotions, your inner compass, your entire energetic posture. You begin to feel everything more intensely. You cry without knowing why. You wake up with a heaviness that words can't describe. You sit in a room full of people and still feel utterly alone. This is not depression. This is not emotional instability. This is the spiritual tremor that precedes divine transition. It is the movement of God within your soul, a heavenly stirring that signals the atmosphere around you is being rearranged. This emotional restlessness is not random. It is the language of the Spirit announcing that your current season is no longer enough for who you're becoming, and while it may seem confusing to those around you, for you it is deeply personal. You can no longer settle into the routines you once found comfort in. You no longer feel connected to conversations that once held your attention. You become more sensitive to your environment, your interactions, even your thoughts. What used to feel tolerable now feels toxic. What used to bring you joy now feels meaningless. This is a sign that God is awakening something deeper. You are no longer being satisfied with the surface because your soul is calling you into depths. God is shifting your emotional terrain to prepare you for spiritual elevation. He is creating divine discomfort to push you out of what is familiar, and that discomfort shows up in subtle but powerful ways. You might suddenly feel exhausted even after resting. You might feel a sudden urgency to move, even though you don't know where. You may experience tears during worship, sudden surges of gratitude, or overwhelming waves of conviction. These are not random emotional reactions, they are sacred signals. God is pulling back the veil and letting your spirit feel the weight of the assignment you're about to step into, and that weight does not crush, it calibrates. It aligns your frequency with the frequency of heaven, and once that happens, nothing in your natural world will feel the same again. It is as if your spirit now knows something your mind cannot explain. You sense change before it manifests. You feel the presence of something new even before it arrives. You begin grieving things you haven't even lost yet because your soul knows what must be released to make room for what's coming. This restlessness is spiritual labor. You are giving birth to a new way of being, and labor is never quiet. It comes with groans, with ache, with an urgency that refuses to be ignored. You begin to pray differently, not always with words, but with tears, with sighs, with stillness. You feel the presence of God not just in church, but in traffic, in silence, in middle of the night. Your appetite changes, your desires shift, your tolerance for noise and distractions decreases. It's not that you're becoming antisocial, you're becoming sacred. God is sanctifying your space, your thoughts, your emotions, because he is about to entrust you with more. And more requires maturity. You cannot carry divine vision with emotional immaturity. So he begins refining your emotional sensitivity, not to weaken you, but to train you. He is teaching you to discern through feeling, to hear through stillness, to follow peace even when logic disagrees, and this level of sensitivity is both a gift and a responsibility. It means you will feel things others don't. You will be moved by what others ignore. You will be called to act in ways that make no sense to the natural mind. But that is the mark of a spiritually awakened soul. You live by deeper rhythms. You move according to heavenly time, and while that may feel lonely at times, it is deeply holy. God is setting you apart emotionally, mentally, spiritually, so he can use you without obstruction. But before he uses you publicly, he refines you privately, and that refinement often comes through emotional pressure. You may find yourself triggered in ways you never used to be. Old wounds rise to the surface. Buried insecurities come into view, not to shame you, but to heal you. God brings these things up not to punish, but to purify, because your next season requires a version of you that is whole, not hiding. So embrace the restlessness, embrace the tears, embrace the sudden inner shifts. These are the indicators that God is near, not in a general sense, but in a deeply personal way. He is not just around you, he is working in you, rewiring your emotions, reordering your values, reawakening your discernment. You are being prepared, but preparation always includes discomfort. There will be days you don't recognize yourself, days when your old interests no longer excite you, days when being alone feels safer than being around people who don't understand the change happening within. That's okay. You are not losing your mind, you are finding your true self. The self God designed, not the one life shaped. And that true self feels everything deeply, passionately, prophetically. You feel the weight of destiny even in mundane moments. You sense the nearness of breakthrough even when nothing seems to be happening. That is the edge where heaven meets earth, and you are standing on it. Don't try to numb it. Don't try to explain it. Just surrender to it. Let your tears flow. Let your prayers deepen. Let your silence speak. This is how God trains prophets. This is how he prepares warriors, not through applause, but through awakening, and that awakening begins within. It begins when your emotions can no longer conform to the patterns of this world. It begins when your restlessness becomes a compass, guiding you toward purpose. It begins when you realize that peace is not found in comfort, but in calling, and your calling is stirring now. You can feel it in your chest, in your gut, in your dreams. You're not imagining it, you're discerning it. God is whispering, get ready. The shift is near. But before I shift your world, I must shift your heart. So I'm stirring you, I'm shaking your emotions, I'm unsettling what kept you stuck, because I want you fully present for what's coming. I want you fully open, fully healed, fully aligned. So trust the feelings. They are not the enemy, they are the evidence. The tears, the tightness, the tug in your soul, these are signs that God is nearer than you think. He is speaking through your senses. He is guiding through your gut. He is answering your prayers, not with external change yet, but with internal awakening. Because the greatest sign that your life is about to shift is when your spirit can no longer settle. You are being called higher, you are being called deeper, and the restlessness you feel is not the absence of peace, it is the presence of purpose demanding your attention. So lean in, listen. Let your spirit speak, let your heart feel. This is how the shift begins, not with a change in circumstances, but with a change in awareness. And once your inner world shifts, your outer world will follow, because the soul always leads and the body always obeys. Let God finish the stirring. Let him complete the unsettling, and then, when the time is right, watch how everything around you begins to move in alignment with what your soul already knew, that change was coming, and you were being prepared to carry it. The sudden shift, when heaven interrupts your routine with destiny, there is a sacred point in the journey of transformation when the divine no longer whispers but interrupts. Without warning, the normal flow of life is shaken by sudden opportunities, surprise connections, closed doors that you thought would stay open forever, and open doors you never knocked on. These interruptions don't come gently. They feel like detours, delays, disruptions, but in truth, they are divine appointments wrapped in disguise. This is the stage where God begins to show his hand openly. The unseen work he's been doing behind the scenes starts to break through into your visible reality. The stillness of the waiting season gives way to motion, swift, divine motion. But because it does not come in the way you expected, your first response might be confusion or even resistance. You will question the timing. You'll doubt your readiness. You'll wonder, why now? Why here? But here's the truth. When God shifts everything, he doesn't ask for your convenience, he requires your obedience, and obedience doesn't wait for ideal conditions. It moves when heaven moves. These divine interruptions may look like a conversation with a stranger that unlocks the next chapter of your purpose. They may look like a job offer that seems out of nowhere, or an urge to move, relocate, or start over. It may be a dream that suddenly refuses to leave your spirit. You wake up thinking about it. You go to sleep stirred by it. Your soul knows something is changing, and opportunities that begin to appear don't feel random. They feel orchestrated, because they are. When God shifts you into purpose, He doesn't need your schedule, He just needs your yes. The moment you say yes, heaven aligns to support that agreement. Angels begin to move. Resources begin to gather. Favor begins to chase you. What would have taken years begins to happen in days. This is not magic. This is momentum born from obedience. God rewards readiness, and when your spirit is ready, the divine will not delay. But don't think for a moment that these shifts will come without testing. Opportunities that show up in this season will stretch you. They'll challenge your identity, your fears, your comfort zone. They'll ask you to trust God more than you trust your plan, because the shift will rarely look like what you imagined. It won't feel convenient, but it will be right. You'll be asked to let go of logic and lean into the leading of the Spirit. You'll have to choose faith over familiarity, because divine opportunity doesn't wait for your understanding, it demands your alignment. Some doors will open suddenly, but not all of them will make sense. This is where discernment becomes vital. Just because it's good doesn't mean it's God, but when it is God, even if it's uncomfortable, it will come with peace, a peace that surpasses all understanding. That peace is your signal, it's your compass. It will guide you when the details are unclear. It will anchor you when fear rises. That peace doesn't come from knowing the whole path, it comes from knowing the one who guides your steps. The divine interruptions in your life are not obstacles, they are invitations. Invitations to step out of the mundane into the miraculous. Invitations to leave behind control and walk by trust. Invitations to trade comfort for calling. Because God is not interested in keeping you where you've been, He is pulling you into where you're meant to be. And sometimes the only way to get you there is to interrupt your regularly scheduled life. When you've grown familiar with the ordinary, God sends the extraordinary to shake you. He breaks your rhythm to introduce a new melody. He closes the door of your plans so you'll notice the window of His will. These interruptions will often come disguised as inconvenience, an unexpected phone call, a sudden loss, a surprising offer, a delayed flight that leads to a divine conversation, a detour that brings you into alignment with your destiny. If you're not spiritually alert, you'll mislabel what's holy as a hassle. But for the spiritually sensitive, every interruption is an invitation to ask God, what are you doing here? Because He is always doing something. And when He's ready to elevate you, He doesn't wait for your permission. He begins to place you in the path of purpose. This is where faith becomes active. No more rehearsing the idea of trust. Now you must live it. You must move when you feel the divine nudge, even if the map is incomplete. You must walk into rooms you don't feel qualified for, knowing that favor is your credential. You must say yes to what you would have once run from, not because you're fearless, but because you're faith-led. The truth is, the shift rarely feels like a shift. At first, it feels like instability, like vulnerability, like uncertainty, but underneath that surface chaos is holy order, a divine realignment of your steps with your calling. And if you can push through the fear, you will enter a flow, a supernatural rhythm where things begin to happen rapidly. Conversations accelerate, doors open without effort. What once felt impossible becomes accessible. This is the window where destiny demands movement, and the greatest danger is not failure, it's hesitation. When God interrupts, you must respond quickly, not recklessly, but faithfully. Delay can cost you more than denial, because opportunities have seasons, and not every open door stays open forever. This is why God begins preparing you in private before the opportunity appears in public. The emotional restlessness, the spiritual stirring, the shedding of old attachments, it all leads here to this moment where everything changes, to the threshold of divine possibility. But you have to cross it. You have to choose yes, and that yes must be full, not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It must be a surrender of logic, pride, and preference, because you don't get to control the how when. You've already said yes to the who, and if God is the who, then the how is always holy, even if it looks messy. There's a reason He didn't give you all the details. He wanted your trust, not your strategy. He wanted your availability, not your analysis, because this shift is not about you being perfect, it's about you being positioned, and God is positioning you now through connections you didn't chase, through conversations you didn't plan, through sudden instructions that make no sense to your flesh but feel right to your spirit. Obey those nudges, honor those divine appointments. Don't overthink them, just move. God is not trying to confuse you, He's trying to align you. And alignment always feels like a stretch at first, But once you step into it, you realize that what you thought was interruption was really invitation. God didn't ruin your plan, he rescued you from settling. He interrupted your comfort to reveal your capacity. He disrupted your routine to release your real purpose. And now your life is no longer ordinary because you are walking with divine awareness. You are no longer waiting for change, you are responding to it. And that response is what separates those who watch destiny from those who walk in it. Let this be the season you walk, not by sight, but by faith, not by fear, but by obedience, not with hesitation, but with holy boldness, because heaven is moving, the windows are open, the invitation has been sent. Will you respond? Will you shift? Will you trust the interruption long enough to see the elevation it was always hiding? This is your moment. The divine has arrived, and it's not waiting. Say yes, step forward, and watch what God does with your obedience. The shift is here.